Do you sometimes feel a quiet ache, a sense of loss as life's rhythm slows and familiar faces become fewer? What if this profound solitude, this quiet space, held the key to an unexpected, enduring joy? My dear friends, greetings to you, wherever you may be in this vast and intricate world. I see you, or rather, I feel your presence, much like the gentle breeze carries the scent of distant flowers. Perhaps you are sitting in your favorite chair, a cup of warm tea in your hand, watching the world through a window, or simply enjoying the quietude of your home. This stage of life, these precious years after 60, often bring with them a unique tapestry of experiences. On one thread, there is the beauty of reflection, of a lifetime lived and lessons learned. On another, perhaps, a quiet wistfulness, a sense of change, and for many, an increasing sense of being alone. Have you ever found yourself sitting quietly, perhaps in a suddenly empty home, and felt a pang of something less than contentment? Do you sometimes wonder why, after a lifetime of connection, of raising families, building careers, and sharing laughter with friends, this quietude feels so unfamiliar, even unsettling? It is a common human experience, this dance with solitude, especially as the world around us shifts and the demands of life soften. But what if this feeling of being alone was not a burden to carry, but a gateway to a deeper, richer experience of joy? Let us embark together on a gentle journey, a path illuminated by ancient wisdom, to explore a profound secret. It is not a secret hidden in dusty scrolls, but one woven into the very fabric of our being, waiting to be rediscovered. It is the Buddhist secret to finding joy when you find yourself alone, particularly in these beautiful, reflective years after 60. This is not a lecture, my friends, but a conversation, a sharing of stories and insights, much like sharing a quiet moment over a warm cup of tea. There's an old tale, a parable whispered among monks for generations, that speaks to the heart of this very feeling. Imagine a village elder named Anya, who had lived a full and vibrant life. Her home was once filled with the laughter of children, the bustling energy of family gatherings, and the constant hum of activity. But as years passed, her children moved to distant cities. Her beloved husband passed on, and her circle of friends gradually diminished. Anya found herself, for the first time in her life, truly alone in her home. The silence, which once had been a rare luxury, now felt heavy, a constant echo of absence. She would sit by the window, watching the children play in the village square, and feel a deep ache in her heart, a longing for what once was. "I am lonely," she would lament to herself. "My life feels empty." One day, a wise old wandering monk, his face etched with the lines of many seasons, came to the village. Hearing of Anya's sadness, he gently knocked on her door. Anya, hesitant at first, invited him in. She poured him some tea and began to share her sorrow. "Venerable sir," she began, "I have lived a good life, but now I am alone. The joy has gone out of my days. How can I find peace in this quiet, empty house?" The monk listened patiently, his eyes full of compassion. He then asked, "Anya, when you say you are alone, what do you mean? Do you mean there are no other human voices in this room? Or do you mean there is a space within you that yearns for something external to fill it?" Anya pondered this. "I suppose it is both," she replied. "Tell me," the monk continued, "when you are alone, do you feel the warmth of the sun on your skin? Do you hear the gentle rustle of leaves outside your window? Do you taste the tea as you sip it? Do you feel the beating of your own heart?" Anya nodded slowly. "Yes, I suppose I do, but I don't pay much attention." "Ah," the monk smiled, "that is the secret. The difference between loneliness and solitude. Loneliness is a feeling of separation, of wanting something or someone outside of yourself to complete you. It is a yearning, a kind of suffering. Solitude, however, is simply the state of being alone. It is a neutral space, a canvas upon which you can paint a masterpiece of inner peace and joy. The sun, the leaves, the tea, your own heart. These are not external connections, but profound internal experiences available to you right now. He paused, letting his words sink in. Anya, your house is not empty. It is filled with the presence of your own life, your memories, your wisdom. It is filled with the very air you breathe, the light that streams through your window. What if, instead of yearning for what is not present, you began to truly experience what is present within you and around you right now? This, my friends, is the first gentle step on our path. It is the understanding that being alone does not equate to loneliness. Loneliness is a state of mind, a perception, a feeling of lack. Solitude is a state of being, an opportunity. Have you ever felt this distinction, perhaps without naming it? The times you found solace in a quiet walk or deep absorption in a book, even when physically alone? Those moments were glimpses of joyful solitude. So, how do we cultivate this joyful solitude, especially when the quiet moments stretch into days and the days into weeks? The Buddhist path offers simple yet profound practices. One of the most powerful is mindfulness. Mindfulness is not about emptying your mind, but about filling it with the present moment. It's about paying attention, with kindness, to what is happening right now, without judgment. Let us consider another story of an old gardener named Kenji. Kenji had worked tirelessly his whole life, maintaining beautiful temple gardens. After his retirement at 70, he found himself with much free time. His wife had passed many years before, and his children lived far away. He missed the purpose and structure of his work, and the company of the younger monks. He felt a sadness, a sense of being adrift. One day, as he sat by his window, watching the new growth in the garden he once tended, he felt a familiar ache. But then, something shifted. He noticed the dew drops on a spider's web, sparkling like tiny diamonds. He saw a ladybug meticulously exploring a leaf. He heard the distant chirping of crickets, a sound he had heard countless times, but never truly listened to. Instead of letting his thoughts drift to his past or his loneliness, Kenji consciously chose to be with these small moments. He focused on the patterns of the spiderweb, the tiny legs of the ladybug, the subtle shifts in the cricket's song. He breathed deeply, letting the air fill his lungs, feeling the subtle sensations in his body. For the first time, he wasn't just observing. He was experiencing these things with his whole being. And in that experience, a subtle joy began to blossom. The silence around him was no longer empty. It was filled with a vibrant symphony of life. This is mindfulness, my friends. It is a way of awakening to the richness that is always present, even when we are physically alone. Do you sometimes rush through your day, even in retirement, letting your mind wander to worries about the past or anxieties about the future? What if you paused, just for a moment, to truly taste your morning coffee, to feel the warmth of your blanket, to hear the rain falling outside? These small acts of presence are revolutionary. They transform mundane moments into opportunities for peace and joy. But what about the inevitable changes that come with age? The loss of loved ones, the slowing of our bodies, the fading of some memories? These are real, and they can be deeply painful. Buddhist wisdom doesn't deny suffering. It teaches us how to move through it with grace. It reminds us of the principle of impermanence, anicca. Everything changes, nothing lasts. This is not a cause for despair, but a profound truth that, once accepted, can free us from clinging to what cannot be held. Consider the story of an old weaver named Maya. Maya had spent her life weaving intricate tapestries, each thread representing a memory, a hope, a piece of her identity. As she grew older, her eyesight began to fail, and her hands, once nimble, became stiff. She could no longer weave the way she once did. A deep despair settled upon her. Her craft, her life's work, her connection to the world seemed to be slipping away. Who am I now? She would lament, I am useless, a broken old woman. One evening, as she sat with a half-finished tapestry, feeling the familiar wave of sorrow, she remembered the words of her grandmother. Life is like a river, my dear. It never stops flowing. Sometimes it rushes, sometimes it meanders, but it always finds a new path. Maya looked at her old, gnarled hands, not as symbols of loss, but as hands that had created beauty for decades. She looked at the half-finished tapestry, not as a failure, but as a moment in time, a canvas that had served its purpose. She decided that evening to simply be with her hands. She felt the texture of her skin, the ache in her joints, not as a problem to be fixed, but as a part of her current reality. She allowed tears to flow, acknowledging the grief for her past abilities, but then she chose to focus on what she could still do. She might not weave complex patterns, but she could still sort threads by color, gently mend old cloths, or simply sit with her hands clasped, feeling the warmth of her own touch. In this simple act of acceptance, Maya found a profound peace. She realized that her worth was not tied to her ability to weave, but to her intrinsic being. She began to share stories of her weaving with the village children, using her old, worn hands to demonstrate the movements, even if she couldn't complete the work. Her wisdom, her presence, became her new tapestry. She discovered that letting go of what was opened up space for a new kind of joy, a joy rooted in wisdom and sharing, rather than in doing. My friends, this is a powerful lesson for us all. Have you ever felt that perhaps you are defined by what you did or what you had? What if your worth, your joy, comes from simply being who you are right now, with all your experiences, your wisdom, your gentle presence? This understanding liberates us from the pressure to constantly achieve or to hold on to the past. It allows us to embrace change, not as a loss, but as a natural part of life's beautiful unfolding. Another profound aspect of finding joy in solitude is cultivating compassion, especially self-compassion. We are often our own harshest critics. Do you sometimes find yourself thinking, I should be doing more? Or, I'm not as vibrant as I used to be? Or, why can't I feel happier? These thoughts, while seemingly innocent, can erode our peace. There's a beautiful Buddhist story about a young monk who came to his teacher, feeling utterly disheartened. Master, he said, I strive to meditate, to be mindful, to be kind, but I constantly fail. My mind wanders, my body aches, and I feel so much resistance. I am a terrible monk. The master looked at him with profound tenderness. My dear disciple, he began, if you saw a child stumble and fall while learning to walk, would you scold him for being clumsy? Or would you gently pick him up, dust him off, and encourage him to try again, with patience and love? The young monk replied, Of course, I would be kind and encouraging. Then why, the master asked, do you treat yourself with such harshness? You are like that child, learning to walk on a new path. The path of life, especially at certain stages, presents new challenges. Treat yourself with the same compassion, the same understanding, the same gentle encouragement you would offer a struggling child or a dear friend. This wisdom, my friends, is crucial for us now. In your moments of solitude, especially when self-doubt creeps in, remember to be kind to yourself. You have lived a lifetime. You have navigated countless challenges. Your body and mind may not be what they once were, and that is perfectly natural. Offer yourself patience, understanding, and unconditional love. What if you looked at your own reflections in the mirror with the eyes of a loving friend? What if you gently acknowledged your own quiet struggles without judgment? This practice of self-compassion is not selfish. It is the foundation of true inner peace and the wellspring of joy, especially when you are alone. Now you might think, Monk, you speak of solitude, yet humans are social creatures. We crave connection. How can I truly find joy in being alone when my heart longs for companionship? This is a beautiful and honest question, and it brings us to another deep Buddhist insight: interconnectedness. Even when you are physically alone, you are never truly separate. You are part of an intricate web of life. The air you breathe has traveled through countless trees and touched distant lands. The food you eat connects you to the earth, to farmers, to sunshine and rain. The memories you hold connect you to every person you have ever known, every experience you have ever had. Your very existence is a testament to the countless beings who came before you. Let me share the story of an old scholar named Professor Eris, who, after a distinguished career, retired to a quiet cottage by the sea. He had always been a solitary man, finding solace in books and research. But in his retirement, as the waves crashed outside his window, a new kind of quietude settled upon him. He missed the intellectual debates, the students' eager faces, the feeling of contributing to a larger body of knowledge. He felt, for the first time, truly isolated. One morning, as he walked along the shore, he picked up a small weathered seashell. He examined its intricate spirals, its delicate colors. He realized that this tiny shell had once housed a living creature, and that creature was part of a vast ocean ecosystem. The shell itself was made of minerals from the earth, shaped by the relentless rhythm of the tides. He thought of the countless creatures that had lived and died in the sea, each contributing to the life that sustained him. Suddenly, a profound realization washed over him. He was not separate from this shell, from the ocean, from the earth, or from the intricate dance of life and death. His own existence was woven into this vast tapestry. He began to see his memories not as isolated events, but as threads connecting him to every person he had ever met. He realized his knowledge, once shared with students, was now living in their minds, continuing its journey. Eris began to spend his days not just reading, but truly observing the natural world around his cottage. He watched the birds, identified plants, collected pebbles, and felt the wind on his face. He started a journal, not of academic research, but of his observations and reflections, a silent conversation with the universe. He discovered that the deeper he connected with the world around him, the less he felt isolated. His solitude became a rich dialogue with existence itself. My friends, what if you were to see your own quiet moments as opportunities to connect with this vast interconnectedness? Look at a tree outside your window. Consider its roots, its branches, its age, its connection to the soil and the sky. Consider the lineage of your own life, the countless individuals who contributed to your existence. Feel the air around you. Feel your breath. In these simple acts, we transcend the feeling of being a solitary island and remember that we are a vital part of the great ocean of life. This awareness brings a profound sense of belonging, a quiet joy that no external circumstance can diminish. And finally, my dear friends, let us speak of purpose. Often, in retirement, when the routines of work and family life diminish, we can feel a loss of purpose. What am I here for now? Is a question that gently rises in the quiet hours. But purpose is not limited to grand achievements or societal roles. Purpose is found in the simple act of living meaningfully, of being present, of offering kindness. There's a story of an elderly woman named Mrs. Petrov, who lived in a small apartment in a bustling city. Her children had their own lives, and her husband had passed. She felt her days were simply passing by, without meaning. She used to be a vibrant teacher, full of energy and passion. But now, alone in her quiet apartment, she felt like a forgotten book on a dusty shelf. One day, while sitting by her window, she noticed a struggling plant on her neighbor's balcony, neglected and wilting. A small spark ignited within her. She didn't know her neighbor well, but she felt a gentle urge to help. She bought a small watering can and with a note left it with a bag of fresh soil and a little advice on her neighbor's doorstep. The next day, She found a thank you note and a small potted flower in return. This tiny act of kindness, born from her solitude and observation, became a new purpose. Mrs. Petrov began to discreetly help others in her building. She would leave baked goods for new families, offer gentle advice to young parents she met in the hallway, or simply offer a warm smile and a listening ear to anyone who seemed troubled. She didn't seek recognition. Her joy came from the act itself, from the subtle sense of connection it forged. Her apartment, once quiet and still, began to feel vibrant. She had found a new way to share her wisdom, her compassion, her presence, without needing to be at the center of attention. Her solitude transformed into a fertile ground for quiet acts of kindness, and each act brought a ripple of joy, both to her and to others. What if your purpose in these years is not to do more, but to be more? To be more present, more compassionate, more awake to the beauty around you. To share your accumulated wisdom, not through grand speeches, but through a gentle presence, a listening ear, a quiet smile, a small act of kindness. This can be your greatest contribution, a beacon of peace in a sometimes turbulent world. My dear friends, the journey we have shared today through these stories and reflections is not about eliminating loneliness. It is about transforming our relationship with being alone. It is about understanding that solitude is not an empty space to be feared or avoided, but a sacred space to be embraced, to be filled not with distraction, but with presence, with compassion, with connection to the deepest aspects of ourselves and the world around us. The Buddha's secret to finding joy when you are alone after 60 is not a complex ritual or a difficult meditation. It is a gentle shift in perspective, a practice of returning again and again to the present moment. It is the understanding that joy is not something external to be found, but an inherent quality of our awakened presence. As you navigate your days, perhaps in the quietude of your home, remember Anya, who learned to see the richness in the present moment. Remember Kenji, who found a world of wonder in a spider's web. Remember Maya, who found a new kind of purpose in letting go. Remember the young monk, who learned to offer himself gentle kindness. Remember Professor Aris, who saw his interconnectedness in a seashell. And remember Mrs. Petrov, who found profound joy in quiet acts of compassion. This stage of life, these precious years, are not an ending, but a profound new chapter. It is a time for introspection, for cultivating inner peace, for savoring the quiet beauty of existence. Embrace the stillness. Listen to the gentle whispers of your own heart. For within that quietude lies an inexhaustible wellspring of joy, waiting to be discovered, tended, and cherished. May your days be filled with quiet contentment and your heart with endless peace. Go forth, my friends, and let your solitude be a sanctuary of profound joy.